to the Kitchen and Jorn Show.
Welcome!
Today we are going to be talking about my adventures with PCOS and I guess endometriosis in general, gynecological, whatever. I don't know what we're calling this video yet. Most people want to hear about PCOS, so I guess that's like headline PCOS, and then it's like guest starring endometriosis and introducing uterine polyps. Off the jump, I just want to say, I obviously want to make this video.
We were planning on making it later.
Yeah.
So, fun fact, y'all, I just got over COVID. I had it and had no energy, obviously was sick and was quarantining. So we weren't able to film, and now that I'm healthy again, I'm just feeling like still getting my energy levels back, and so we're shooting a video where we could just sit and talk. This video is coming out sooner than we might have wanted, but Kristin is doing me a favor. So you guys that are gonna be like, you guys are putting out so much content about Kristin. Kristin's not doing this because she loves making content about herself. She's doing this because she's a good friend who loves helping me out.
A fun fact, if you want to peek behind the curtain, here's some YouTube secrets. If you don't publish regularly, YouTube punishes you.
Yeah, the algorithm is like...
They say they don't, that is a lie.
Yeah.
So whether we like it or not, something's gotta come out every Friday. Listen,
Get boosted!
I'm boosted too, and I haven't gotten it yet.
Knock on, yeah, wood, the fake wood.
This is real wood.
Oh, it's real wood?
Yeah. Disclaimer number dose.
Number dose.
I'm not a doctor. Don't be coming around and being like, you're not a doctor. Yeah,
It's not a secret.
No, I'm just a human with
She's just sharing her experience.
I just have a meat sack, okay? And it causes problems. Me and my sack.
Me.
All right, let's start at the beginning.
First of all,
Or not.
What does PCOS stand for those who do not know?
Okay, so I have PCOS. It stands for Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. It's a very common thing that a lot of AFAB people have. Everyone's PCOS is different, and so my PCOS is not necessarily gonna look like someone else's PCOS. It basically, what's happening is your body hormonally is like
It's kind of irregulated.
It's kind of dysregulated. Either, you know, for some people, you make too much estrogen. With me, I make an actual normal amount of estrogen, but I make 0 progesterone. I had it measured. I'm not joking. People are like, well, you must make some. I make no progesterone. The progesterone factory is closed. They laid all the workers off.
And then they sold the sawmill and they sold it for parts.
Yes, okay, and now, you know, it's just an empty shell. What organ makes progesterone? Which organ makes progesterone?
The
It's
gonads.
ovaries. It's
And
ovaries.
they-
You know, something's going on with your hormones. You get like a lot of little cysts on your ovaries. They can be super painful. They can explode when you menstruate, or they can just sit there and like dissolve, or, you know, they can do lots of things.
They can do anything they want to do. They can do the exact same thing a little boy can do.
Cis, people try to say that cis should be small. Cis should learn to take up space.
Cis can do.
The hormonal disorder causes small cysts. It also causes a bunch of other things. Like, for example, you know, I'm not particularly hairy. Some people are very hairy. I have what people call like classic PCOS belly, which is like almost all of my fat is in like the front of me. But like, you know, that's one of my things. Like, I don't have a lot of acne. Some people do. So let's talk about me.
You.
I had a functional reproductive system for, I want to say 6 months when I was like 13.
Yeah, not a lifer.
No, like literally as soon as I started having periods, I started having problems. I had like debilitating cramps from the very beginning. And my mom obviously paid like very close attention to this and was like very on it and very like trying to figure out what was going on, and was kind of like, seems like there's some ongoing issues. Like, I took birth control, I want to say I was like 13. I was really young, but for like its intended purpose, which was
to regulate your hormones.
Yeah.
And to try to relieve some of your painful symptoms.
Yeah, I took birth control for, you know, the purposes of like regulating my hormones, which, side note, is why we need birth control for a litany of reasons beyond just birth control. Birth control helps a lot of people. I don't take it personally, but other people do.
I do.
Yeah, do you? Oh, yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do.
I would say maybe 4 months into me starting menstruating, my cramps got really bad. And then they weren't just cramps, I was just kind of periodically in pain all the time. And my mom was like, this seems kind of weird. And my dad was like,
I'm not noticing.
I'm not noticing. So, at one point I was gonna write about this, and so I interviewed both my parents, and it was very fascinating because I interviewed my mom about this whole time, and like she remembers things that I don't even remember, and I remember a lot about this time. My dad, it's like I was telling him a whole new story.
He's like, damn, that's crazy.
He's like, damn, that's crazy. Wow. Anyway, I was in like tremendous amounts of pain to the point where one night my mom finally was like, let's go to the emergency room. And we went to the emergency room, kind of got blown off. We were scheduled to go on a family vacation to New Jersey to see my grandfather. And my mom was like, I don't love this idea because Kristin is in a lot of pain. And I don't really know why, and we don't have answers. And my dad said, I don't know what he said, but we ended up going to New Jersey. So clearly he did not have the same issues with that.
Yeah, she'll be in pain in New Jersey. It's like,
I think
she can do that in New Jersey.
Yeah, it's like, you can do that anywhere. That's portable. The decision making was like really not on par with like what we expect from adults.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm in a lot of pain, and we fly to New Jersey. I get there, and the pain just gets worse. I was mostly in bed that trip with a heating pad. I think at one point, like, my mom had been given advice to like give me like enemas, which I guess trigger warning for enema discussion, I don't know. Because like the idea was like if my bowels were clear, it would put less pressure on like my reproductive system.
Yeah.
My mom was freaking out.
It's like the family trip from hell. It's like, I'm in a lot of pain and I'm getting enemas from my mom. Yeah. And I like New Jersey, but you're in New Jersey.
My mom feels crazy because she can tell that something is very wrong with me, but like all the other adults around her are kind of like, well, I mean, I don't know what you want us to do about it. I feel really bad for her because she must have felt like very alone.
She did get vindicated.
She did get vindicated. So on the flight back from New Jersey, about, I want to say 30 minutes into that flight, I start feeling terrible. A new level of terrible.
And what you mean by terrible is like intense,
Like-
unbearable pain.
Like, I'm going to die on this flight. I didn't know what to do because I couldn't sit, I couldn't lie down, I couldn't squat. There was no position I could be in that would alleviate this pain. I went to the bathroom.
On the
like,
plane.
On
You're
the
still on the
plane.
plane.
All on the plane. And like my mom followed me, and I could tell my mom was like, my mom knew that something was horribly wrong. And a flight attendant was just like, could also tell something was horribly wrong. So they like laid me down in like the very back of the plane, like the back where they put together like the food and the drinks and stuff, like the back, like not like the back row, the back of the plane. And they call throughout the plane, like, are there any doctors on this plane? And a guy came back, and I don't remember his name, but I remember he was a family physician. And my mom explained to him what was going on, and he was like, I remember having kind of some in and out discussions with a lot of adults. Honestly, like a lot of this is very blacked out for me. It was,
you were like going in and out of like consciousness with
pain.
pain.
I was just like, it was horrible. And then I think by the time they kind of realized I needed to go to a hospital, we were close enough to Dallas, which is where we were flying back to. I don't know, someone will tell me what it's called, but it's basically when they tell all the other planes you have to wait because this plane has to land first.
Yeah.
So then which I guess it's not like an emergency landing, but like
it's a priority landing.
It's a type of emergency landing. And they landed the plane, they brought us.
It's like so traumatic.
It's super traumatic. It was it's fine. I'm not like reliving it. You'll know when I'm reliving it because I will start crying. And then they brought a stretcher onto the plane, and they like basically like they brought me off the plane on a stretcher and put me in an ambulance and took me to a hospital. Cut a very long story short, they discovered that what had happened on the plane was I had a dermal cyst, which is different than the cysts you get in PCOS. Dermal cysts have like in them. Sometimes they have like teeth and hair and like just, you know. PCOS cysts are like, they're like fluid filled, they're different. So I had a dermal cyst which had been growing and growing and growing and growing on my ovary, and then eventually decided during this flight to choke it off. So what had happened on the plane was this cyst killed my left ovary. The reason why it happened on the plane was the changes in pressure caused it to expand and like cut off the blood flow. And then it was even worse because we went to the doctor, and like at the time I went to see a gynecologist who referred us to a gynecological oncologist who told my parents that like until they got in there, they could not guarantee that it wasn't ovarian cancer. I was not told this
Probably
until
a good thing.
Much later. My friends knew.
That this had happened?
No, my friends knew that like no one was sure if I had cancer yet.
But you didn't know? How did they know?
What I think happened is my mom told my mom's friends to be like, hey, everyone needs to support Kristin right now. And I think that they told their kids. In fact, probably people I knew at the time were watching this and like they knew. It's just that it was
You didn't know
I
that
didn't
was
know.
a possibility.
I didn't know. Poor parents had to sit for like a month and wait to find out whether or not this was true. Meanwhile, I'm just like bobbing around like a dead organ.
Well, so like you went to the hospital and that's when they diagnosed that that's what had happened on the plane?
I don't remember. I went to the hospital and they were like, they kind of confirmed like the worst is over. It's not gonna, whatever happened is not gonna get fixed.
Great.
Which is true, like it was dead. So it's just like, I mean, it was just kind of like
we can't kill it again. We keep trying.
Yeah, we can't kill it again. It has died, the end. So then it was, I had surgery. They like basically just cut me open like vertically.
From here to
From here to my toes. I'm actually a lizard. It's an exploratory scar, which is we just don't know what the fuck we're looking for. So it's like just vertical. Anyway, so this is supposed to be a video about PCOS, but I can't talk about PCOS unless I talk about the other stuff too. So
it's all related. It's all connected.
It's all a rich
exploratory
piece
scar.
of shit. Yeah.
Kristin, you don't need more earrings.
Okay, but they're so cute, and they're going on sale in 2 minutes.
We're back after a failed attempt to buy earrings on Instagram.
I tried to buy some earrings on Instagram. I did not succeed. That's fine. I don't need to buy earrings. I wish I'd never heard of the concept of beaded earrings, but unfortunately I cannot resist the call. Anyway, I got cut open and they took out my dead left ovary and my dead fallopian tube.
Did they let you see them after?
No, I was 13.
I feel like sometimes they're like, here's a jar of your organ.
No! Oh my god, that would have... No! Anyway, after that, they were like, well, you have one ovary now. And of course,
Use it wisely.
Use it wisely.
Don't spend it all at once.
One thing that my mom was worried about was that, like, are you going to go through menopause earlier because you have fewer eggs? And it turns out your body mostly just kind of adjusts to the fact that you have fewer eggs. When I did have regular periods, instead of being spaced out 28 days, my periods were spaced out 35 days.
Okay.
And so like over the course of like a calendar year, it's like fewer eggs. Or sometimes I'd miss periods. It just kind of like, your ovary kind of compensates for it. I don't know, I started having more cramps and then my doctors were like, she has endometriosis. And endometriosis, if you don't know what it is when your body makes uterine lining just any old place in the abdomen. It's supposed to make it on the inside of your uterine, but sometimes it's like, what if we threw the wallpaper into the street and on the sides of cars and like into the sewer and up buildings and like on this dog? It's just like, you know, and also they're making sure the wallpaper is sticky too. So it's making it stick to things it shouldn't. So it was causing like adhesions within like my intestines and stuff like that.
And that's incredibly painful.
Yeah, super painful. So I had to have like a series of surgeries as a teenager to sort of like untie the knots. I had a couple of Lupron injections. I guess it worked because later on, a gynecologist told me that like I didn't have endometriosis anymore, and I was like, what? So I don't know. I've had a lot of gynecologists, and I want to say 50% of them were not people I would
visit
again or trust with family members. But the thing that kind of started developing in my 20s is like I started having like kind of irregular-ish periods, and like also obviously like I gained all my weight in my stomach. Another thing that's sort of like come up for me, like I would say in the last 15 years, is like some insulin resistance, which is another common thing that happens with PCOS. My gynecological adventure sort of transitioned from like, ovary dead, and no, you also have endometriosis too. Oh, your main problem is you have PCOS. It's funny because like I've had PCOS for like a long time, right? Like probably 20 years. I want to say like 7 years ago, like the PCOS Foundation asked me to speak. One, I don't know anything about PCOS. And two, I'm not doing to take care of it. I remember being like, I don't know what you want me to, like,
This shit sucks.
This shit sucks, man.
Who can relate?
It's sort of...
Did you end up speaking at the foundation?
No.
Oh, okay.
It mostly brought to my attention that I didn't know much about PCOS and that I wasn't really doing much
to
alleviate it, and that maybe that was bad. But don't worry, I did nothing about it for, I want to say 3 or 4 more years. And then something that happened, I want to say 2018, is my periods basically just stopped. I stopped having periods. I would get one period every so often, and at first the one period was like bad, but like, you know, not terrible. And then what started happening is I would have a period where I would have to go to the hospital. I would be in so much pain. I would be bleeding everywhere. So you should go to the hospital if you're filling up more than 1 tampon an hour. And I was filling up like 2 tampons every hour for like 14, 16 hours straight. I could not stop the bleeding. I went to the emergency room and they were like, wow, yeah, you've lost a lot of blood, but you don't need a blood transfusion. But like, yeah, you probably should see someone about this. And the thing is because it caused so many issues, I kind of at first didn't really know how to treat it. And so I started trying to find a doctor that would like kind of understand what the issue is. So I went to my current gynecologist, who I love, who's great. I basically kind of explained what was going on, that like I would have these periods that were like just tidal waves of death. And I think like he kind of did a really good job of outlining to me like what the problem was with PCOS and what I needed to fix. And so he was like, okay, we have a couple problems we have to solve. We need to solve the problem of you just like, you know, atom bombing blood everywhere. But we also need to solve the problem of the thickness of your uterine lining. Thick uterine linings, or like uterine linings that stay thick and like don't shed regularly, can lead to uterine cancer. So we want to also address that. It was like, okay, so like that is both scary and also, I guess, organized. You know what it's like in your 20s, early 30s, where you're just kind of like, if you have like a medical problem and like it's not really,
and you kind of punt it.
You're gonna punt it because it's like, I'm just trying to keep my head above water. I don't have time for problems that haven't become problems yet. Well, surprise, in my late 30s, it became a problem. I would also really recommend this if you have PCOS. Find a doctor that understands that pain management is a critical part of this process. Do not go to someone who makes fun of you or obfuscates or is like, well, everyone does it. Downplays your pain, or is like, well, everyone does it that way. No. And like, I see a male gynecologist, and so his default is like, well, I don't know what your pain is like, so I'm not gonna assume that I know, so I gotta just listen, I gotta do the best I can. And like, I think that works. I think that helps that like he sort of believes me when I tell him that like there are problems. Because originally we were gonna do the endometrial biopsy in the office, and then mess. I got prescribed something to like soften my cervix, which is like the abortion pill. That was a nightmare, the worst night of my life. And then he tried to do it in the office and was like, this is not gonna work. In December, I had an endometrial biopsy done, a pap smear, I had 2 polyps removed, I had a UTI put in.
You had an IUD put in?
I had an IUD put in.
They put you under.
They put me under.
You were under general anesthesia.
Yes, I was under general, and they just kind of went boop, 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 boop. The IUD, I ended up having to get removed because after 2 weeks, it had lodged itself into my cervix.
Let me just make myself a night at home.
Yeah.
Before you went under, you were like trying to buy earrings online.
So when I was having surgery, my favorite beater was doing a drop of earrings. And so I knew the drop was gonna be at noon, and I knew that like if I held off on getting my IV or whatever for like 3 seconds, I could get these earrings. But anyway, I bought them, here they are.
They're so cute.
They're so cute. The result of my endometrial biopsy was that I have a little bit of endometrial hyperplasia, which is not cancer, but it's like step 1. It's like, if this is like nothing and this is cancer, it's like hyperplasia. And so because of that, my doctor prescribed some progesterone therapy for me so that I can start having more regular periods. It does give me nightmares. I've started taking it in the mornings, which makes it a little bit better. But like for me, it's like, I don't want mega period, and I don't want endometrial cancer. Whatever cancers are available to me, I guess. I don't want any of it. I'm not ordering from the menu. The other thing is I have some insulin resistance. So I also take metformin for that. It's a super commonly prescribed drug. A lot of people take it. I don't know, there's not really much more to say than that, other than like, I'm sure people feel shame about it, but like, don't. Do you take drugs to help with things that you need help with? The end. Those are my main 2 drugs that I take right now to sort of regulate my PCOS situation. Obviously, other people are gonna be different. I think it helped to have a doctor outline to me exactly what it is that we needed to stop. And for him, it was like, we don't want this bad outcome to happen, so let's start doing this now.
I feel like that's just like very good communication. Like it's kind of just like to actually make you understand what he's doing and why, and not just like with an agenda. Yeah, that's sort of my goal right now, is to kind of get more regular periods and also like help my insulin resistance. Those 2 things are things that, you know, I would like to be better. Yeah.
This is not like a fun place for you to give like your fun diet tips on how to diet your way to diet the stuff that you don't want to diet in terms of dieting and like making your pancreas do stuff and things and guys. So like if this comment section becomes a place where people are like, well, that's not how you should battle insulin resistance. You should do blankety blank 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 blank. That's gonna get deleted. So have
And
fun.
you're gonna get banned.
Have fun writing it because I'm gonna delete it.
Yeah.
I'm really reticent to talk about it because I don't want this to become a place where people are like feeling safe to like give diet tips.
That's not welcome. We're telling you right
This
now.
is not gonna be a safe space for diet tips. So just like don't do it. So that's kind of where I am right now. I have to get a cervical biopsy, which like I learned what that was recently. They hole punch your cervix.
Okay, so they can put you under for that too, right?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna
Okay.
call them back and be like, no, this is not happening while I'm awake.
Like,
So yeah, I mean, that's where I am on my journey. I'm sure it will change with time. I'm sure when I go through menopause eventually, it will also change because then my ovaries will stop, you know, delivering packages. So, you know, everyone's body's different. Everyone's like choices for how they treat what they do is different. I think the best advice I would give is to go to a doctor and kind of be like,
what are the scenarios we're trying to avoid?
yes. What are the scenarios we're trying to avoid? If they're a gynecologist and they're like a little bit too excited to tell you about like what not to eat, then like you go find a different doctor. Yeah, that's Kristin's PCOS video. It's been an interesting journey. Don't wait until your late 30s. Anyway, all right.
Anyway,
bye.
thanks for watching.
Bye.
We love you guys.
Love you, bye.